Hey everyone, welcome to the program, WRSA Radio. I'm your host, G1, as always. Hope you're having a good week. It's been a productive one for me this week as I gear up for Christmas and New Year's. I got family coming in next week, so as a heads up, I will not be doing a show next week. Not only will I not have time, but you should be spending your time with your family as well and enjoying the Christmas time, not listening to me ramble on about things that are just going to make you angry. It's not really what we need to be doing next week. So none of that next week. What do we have on the old program for today? Well, we're talking about the two attacks this week, the Australia Bondi Beach attack and the Brown University attack. So let's dive right into them because I got a lot of stuff on these two incidents. I'm going to start with the university attack. Shooting happens on campus. Shooter escapes capture, and while the search is going on, this is encompassing several days here. But while these things are going on, the university has this bizarre press conference where they can't really answer any questions, and they've had multiples like this where they're getting up there. It's like they're expected to have a press conference and say something, but they don't really want to say anything. It's just very, very strange. They can't give any details about anything, and it's not because they're keeping things secret. It's because they don't have a clue. At least that's what it looks like. And that's what they're saying, which is very strange. Now, there's something a little bit refreshing about that, honestly. However, it's not giving a great appearance to the public. There's no, sense of confidence that is projected when you get up there and just say, "Well, we don't know anything," to every question that's asked. It's very strange. But what is more strange about this is we don't know for sure that they don't know anything. Okay, while police are chasing after a suspect for a couple of days, they are going after what appeared is the wrong person. They arrest a guy who's in a hotel room and they bring him in for questioning. Turns out he's not the guy, and the university is quietly scrubbing social media of another individual. And everything about this second person is being removed from the internet. The first guy, like I said, turns out not the guy. Now, questions come up about this other person, and some people have pointed to from the very beginning, really. And over the next couple of days, this person is identified publicly and is being called a suspect, at least by Reddit and 4chan and some of these other these internet groups. I'm not going to name the guy because, I'm a little channel, and I don't want to incorrectly name someone who later turns out to be innocent. So, subject myself to some kind of lawsuit or something like that. So I'm not going to give his name, but it's out there for you to find it. And in fact, we're hearing very, very short while ago that person, oh no, he's actually been cleared as a suspect. So we may not actually have anybody at this point who is actually on the radar as the actual shooter. Now, let's look at the victims of the attack, because it's starting to look like this was not random. This person has emerged as the possible target of the attack. Ella Cook, who was the first person shot by the attacker, and she passed away at the scene or later at the hospital. I'm not sure on that detail. And then there was a second victim who also passed away later in the hospital, Muhammad Umarzokov. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that name correctly. But anyway, that person also, that young man died later at the hospital as a result of the injuries sustained during the attack. Now, Ella Cook was not just a random student. She was the vice president of the College Republicans Club on campus. And a lot of the scrubbing of social media that's been taking place by the university has involved people, some of the students who were apparently, rumors say, I haven't seen any, screen captures of any of this, but apparently in the university kind of Facebooky type, social media pages, there were people who were celebrating the death of this young woman because she was a Republican. Now, this shooting may not have anything to do with that. Maybe this person shot her for some personal reason, or maybe she was just the first person that they saw when they walked in the door and started shooting. That could be the case. I don't think that's the case. However, I think the shooter targeted her, likely for her political beliefs or the things that she's saying, or their political beliefs. Who knows, what is motivating this particular person, because we don't know who they are. But the problem with all this is that Brown University is being rather vague and uncooperative with the information that they're putting out. The FBI is being vague. Rhode Island police are being vague. The city police, none of them are communicating. Okay, not really. And some things have come up over the last few days. Much of the area of the campus itself does not have security cameras, so there's not a lot of video of this attack or the attacker. We've seen some video of the suspect walking around the area, but not a lot of useful video, to be frank. The authorities are keeping much of this hidden from the public and not releasing it. And what they have put out is just, like I said, it's inconclusive at best. It's a person walking around in a jacket and a watch cap and what looks like a face mask. So there's no real way to see who this person is. They are professing that this is the best video that they have of the shooter. They have said first that there were no cameras in the building where the attack took place. Then they come back and say, well, but we have 1,200 cameras on campus, but we don't want to tell you where they are because it compromises our security. Then they say, well, we've given all the video that we have to the investigators. And then we get, well, we looked at all the video and there just isn't much that will be helpful, so we're going to release this little bit of video and that's it. It's just all really very vague. What's the real story there? Now, in a press conference yesterday, a reporter asked a question saying that they had information that the security cameras that would have recorded the attack were removed due to sanctuary city policies. So is that what they're hiding? Maybe the political policies of this state and of this college and its campus, the people who operate it, maybe that contributed to this situation? It's all very sketchy. It's all very elusive. Are we seeing a cover-up here? Are we just seeing really incompetent police and investigative work? The police said in this press conference yesterday that at this point, 5 days, as of this press conference, 5 days since the attack, and the police have not even interviewed the witnesses that were in the room when the attack took place. And they don't even have a firm roster of who was there, who was in that room, provided to them by Brown University. Now, this is completely unacceptable. This level of bullshit is on par with the Uvalde shooting. Thankfully, there were only 2 deaths from this, but this is horrible. This is inexcusable. They're either grossly incompetent, or they are hiding something and covering up for something that they do not want to take the political fallout from. Or it's both of those things, which I think is the real answer here. I think it's political narrative and agenda that has created an environment where extreme leftist ideology has infected the student base and the surrounding community, and that ideology has altered the security practices and procedures of both the school and the local police. And these institutions have then become just grossly incompetent because they prioritize political position over capability and security. It's criminal. But both you and I know that no one will be held to account for this, or at best someone will get fired. And that'll be it. And then it'll be just move along. Now, let's Let's look at the other attack halfway around the world. Bondi Beach in Australia. Now, interestingly enough, I have a friend who lives in Australia, and he's a shooter. So he is lamenting the aftermath of this shooting, what he knows is going to happen. It's yet another excuse for the Australian government to pass more gun control. That was the entirely predictable outcome of this attack. As you should already know, two shooters, a father and son apparently, opened fire on a beach where a large number of Jewish tourists and citizens of Australia had gathered for a Hanukkah celebration. You know, keep in mind, seasons are reversed in the Southern Hemisphere, so during Christmas and the holidays, it is summer down there. So these folks are on a beach having a holiday swim and enjoying themselves, and these two guys opened fire on the crowd with shotguns and a bolt-action rifle. Now recall that the Port Arthur massacre, which happened many years ago, back in the 90s, in Australia, was the excuse that they used to ban almost every kind of modern firearm out there. Well, now we have another attack with shotguns and a bolt-action rifle, and their reaction is, we need more gun control. I don't even want to get into that aspect of it because it's just a well-worn path that we don't need to go down. You and I are already in agreement that following that course of action is both useless to stop violence and the course of action that tyrannical governments have taken and will take as much as they can. It's evil, and the people of Australia should rise up and overthrow their government to stop it. We can agree on that, but they're not doing anything, so, let's just move on from there. Immediately after this attack, practically before the smoke had cleared, Jewish media voices and political figures launch into a barrage of accusations and finger-pointing. They cry loud and direct that this attack by, what they are saying are radical Muslims on innocent Jews in Australia is directly because the government of Australia supported Palestine, fomented anti-Semitism, and condemned Israel. At least on social media, however, this did not go as they thought it was going to go. People reacted by telling them in no uncertain terms that, well, now they suspect that Israel was behind the attacks because you doth protest too much. These guys are in some way or form being pushed or were pushed or funded or encouraged by Mossad. At least, that's what people were kind of indicating in their commentary on social media. Well, very shortly after this attack happened, in the wake of it, we began to get videos. And what we were seeing are a couple things that have jumped out. Very suspicious things, very indicative things. One, the shooters were very specific about who they were targeting. They were shooting only out onto the beach. There were people filming them while they were shooting, and the shooters see them, notice that they're being filmed, and rather than turn the guns on the people filming, they warn them away. Shoo, go away. They try to wave them off and tell them, leave. Seems very, very odd. They didn't want to turn the camera or turn their guns at the camera, the person filming, and shoot at them. Very, very strange. We also have two individuals that have kind of jumped up to the spotlight. The first is a man who disarmed one of the shooters. He fights the guy for his shotgun. I believe it was the father. And he takes the shotgun from him, and then rather than shoot the gunman with his own weapon, he allows the gunman to back off and kind of run towards the son. And then a few minutes later, the police finally get motivated to do something, and they end up shooting this guy because they think that he's one of the gunmen. And the second person is this guy who says that he was a victim of the shooting. He was nicked in the head with a bullet or a pellet or something, and he films himself, bleeding heavily from the head while he's laying on the beach, and he says, that he's a survivor of October 7th, and he just 2 weeks ago moved to Australia to confront and fight the anti-Semitism that is growing there. Wow, what a coincidence. Well, then we see this guy in the hospital a few days later, and lo and behold, he does not seem to have any kind of real wound on his head that would have bled like that. No bandage, nothing. He's just sitting in bed eating a donut or something. Very odd. Now, folks, I can't say for sure what happened here. This is something that happened around the world. I don't know anyone. The person that I know in Australia doesn't live there in that particular area. So I don't know anyone that was near or involved or whatever to do with the attack. I don't have a source there. But as an outside observer, this thing stinks to high heaven, okay? I think this is two things. I think it's an attack that was orchestrated by an intelligence agency. Either they set this up with people in place to kind of inflate and make these numbers look like they're one thing, kind of grow the impact of it. Perhaps they faked the whole thing, although I think that's less likely since it would involve cooperation from a lot of people, which is very difficult to do and keep secret anyway. Either they set it all up or they encouraged and facilitated the attack by these two people who were driven to act. People that may not have had any intention of doing something like this, but they were encouraged and facilitated to conduct this attack. And then the government is not going to let a crisis go to waste, so they jump to more gun control. But make no mistake, there will be more to follow up from this, along the lines of, we also need more censorship of the internet to keep this from, spreading anti-Semitism and people forming negative opinions about a specific group of people. All these sort of deflections, they never, the real answer, of course, is you don't import those kinds of people into your society. You don't let people who have a vastly different culture, who will not assimilate into your society, come and live in your society. When you have that, it generates conflict, it generates problems. And some people don't know how to deal with conflict, and so they lash out violently. So rather than, deport a bunch of people, stop your immigration, stop the flow of those kinds of people into your culture, Australia uses this as an excuse for more gun control and more censorship. Never let a crisis go to waste, right? It's also fake and gay, and I think the younger people are starting to see right through this. They're more and more educated, more and more awake and aware of what is taking place, and they immediately recognize it for what it is. The only question that we keep asking is when are we going to say we've had enough? When are we going to reach that point? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks. So that is all the time I have for this week. Merry Christmas to you all and you and yours. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. I should do a show New Year's week, but next week, like I said, I'll be taking a little hiatus for the Christmas. So like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab, Nice Crew, and the Mothership, and I will see you on the next episode.